Well, Kate and Jim join me now. Thank you very much to you both for coming to talk to us this evening. Kate, if I start with you, how influential has Twitter been for all of us over the last 7 years?
The main thing that it's done is made the world feel much smaller. So celebrities and politicians love it in particular because they can talk directly to their fans, to their voters. And that means that they can get a message through without relying on journalists like me.
Jim, we know that you've been speaking with One Direction. You gave them some advice on how to launch their new perfume range, I believe. How important is it to celebrities like One Direction?
It's made a huge difference to the way they portray themselves and talk to their fans in ways that I imagine never thought were possible. I mean, we worked with One Direction to help them launch their fragrance, and frankly, within a touch of a couple of buttons, we were sharing videos and content and tweets with up to 30, 40 million people around the world.
It's
a huge impact, yeah.
Incredible, but are they using it genuinely as a way of communicating with their fans, or do they just see it as a marketing tool, a way to make money?
No, I think anybody that uses it as a pure marketing tool gets found out very quickly. I think the most effective users of Twitter are people that genuinely want to have a dialogue with fans or whoever it may be, but because the frauds are found very quickly, I think.
Is there a risk, Kate, of it becoming too corporate, too many big companies getting on board?
You don't have to follow them. That's the great thing about Twitter. Your timeline, what you see when you log onto the website, is unique to you. It reflects who you're interested in. It reflects what you're interested in. So if you're not interested in Kellogg's, you don't have to follow them. It's a world that you've curated yourself.
Well, we've had lots of tweets about this. Jonathan Blake has said, I love having Twitter as it's the only way I can get close to my idols, like One Direction, although I'm sure One Direction aren't Jonathan Blake's idols. And also another one from Yvonne who says, it hasn't found me a boyfriend yet, but it has made me friends that I wouldn't have made if I wasn't on Twitter. So there are people who are still benefiting for the real reason that Twitter was invented.
Yeah, and there are some wonderful stories about things that happened that could never have happened without Twitter. So for instance, in my book there's a story about someone who was able to check on his father after an earthquake. He lived in Los Angeles, his elderly father was in New Zealand, and he just asked if anyone was nearby and someone saw the tweet and went and checked he was okay. So these are the kinds of things that would have been incredibly difficult to make happen.
But Jim, there is a darker side, isn't there? I mean, we hear a lot about trolling and the abuse that people get on Twitter. I mean, do you think Twitter should be doing more to police its site?
I think human beings should be thinking a little bit more about how they treat one another rather than looking to blame it on a technology or a platform. I think the wonderful thing about Twitter and platforms like this, as Kate says, is it brings people together. And I think we have a duty as human beings to look after each other rather than blame it on new tools or technology, which are doing wonderful things in our lives.
And do you see Twitter as hanging around for the long term? Is it just a fad?
People have been saying that for such a long time now, and it's still here and it's still building numbers. So, they're doing okay.
So you don't see it being replaced anytime soon? Because obviously we've had all sorts, haven't we, with MySpace and Facebook. You think Twitter's here for the long haul?
Yeah, Twitter's here for a long time to come, yeah.
And do you think it's likely to achieve its estimated value of £6.3 billion?
It's hard to say, but they haven't released very many numbers at all about how much business they actually make. So it'll be difficult to say, but they're bound to get some interest.
OK, Kate Busman and Jim Dowling, many thanks for joining us this evening.
Thank you.